This is Gracious Girl with Jessica Lynn, where real women with real lives take their real struggles and turn them into real successes. And they take their messes and turn them into their messages. Let's get started. Welcome to Gracious Girl with Jessica Lynn. Today I have with me Nichole. Hey Nichole, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat.
Yes, I've been looking forward to chatting with you. Tell our audience, our listeners, a little bit about you, about your personal side as well as your professional side.
Sure. Yeah, I I have kind of a full life, but it's not overwhelming in any way. So I run a couple of businesses. One is a brick and mortar business, and it's a martial arts club in the small town that I live in. So my husband and I run that together. He's the martial arts coach, and I teach yoga, and I'm a doctor of acupuncture and a nutritionist. So what I decided to do is take my nutrition health coaching side into the online world. So I also run an online health coaching business, and we own an acreage with two small kiddos. So we live off the land quite a bit, and we, are busy, but it's all the good stuff. So it's all good in terms of that. It's fun.
Awesome. So what made you decide to start living off of the land? What made you so sustainable?
It's funny because I was born and raised in the city, and so I didn't have any of those types of skills, but I always had a desire to. And after I went through a divorce about 10 years ago, I knew that the next person I wanted to meet would be somebody who could help me learn those types of skills. And so sure enough, I'm with a guy who definitely was born and raised that way. He lived on a farm, he hunts, he fishes, and all the rest of it. So we're raising pigs on our land. We have a garden, we hunt, we fish. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. Sounds like a fun life. So very adventurous. So yeah. I guess that's how you and your family spend a lot of your time then. How do you make sure that you carve out that time for your family?
It's just more of a lifestyle. We don't really need to make it, part of the schedule as though it's like an outside thing. It's just how we live. And I think moving out into a place where it is an acreage, so it does have that capacity, is part of it, right? So you maintain the land you live on, but we have a lot of local edible stuff, so we can forage in the yard. We like fresh vegetables in the summer season, so we grow them. And then once a year we get our pigs, and then of course hunting season is full on. So it's just part of what we do. And I think when you're self-employed, that's the nice thing. You get to kind of design your lifestyle. You don't have a 9-to-5 that causes you to be limited to that type of schedule. So I feel very blessed in that way that we've sort of designed it that way.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. Myself, I run my own business as well. I'm a virtual assistant, and I'm extremely blessed by that, just because of the fact that, yes, I still have to work, but I'm able to do it around what needs to be done with my life as well. My work is a huge part of my life, but it's not my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just a part of it. A huge part of it, but just a part of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a blessing in itself. So tell me a little bit. I know that you've had a little bit of struggles in your life. Tell us about those.
Well, I think every single person on the planet at one point or another is going to go through hard times, and it's all relative. I mean, some people might think it's sort of first world problems depending on where they came from and how they look at it. Exactly. But I feel like when I kind of had a rough patch, it was sort of everything at once. The phrase, when it rains it pours, right? And so it was definitely one of those couple of years in a row of just back-to-back things. It's sort of the year that I got pregnant with my second baby. We bought a house, our first home. We opened a business, the brick and mortar business, and my dad was really sick at the time. and he lives 5 hours from where we live. So over that time of my pregnancy with him being sick and in treatment, we were traveling back and forth to, be as helpful as we could and spend as much quality time as we could. But then when my second baby was born, he was getting quite sick. And so I had a newborn, I was, breastfeeding, I was chasing a toddler, trying to run the business, trying to keep up on mortgage payments, and then commuting with the babies back and forth 5 hours one way just to be able to see him. So it was a lot going on, and, a lot of life's major transitions all at the same time.
Right.
So it was definitely very challenging. It's something that I don't wish upon anyone, it's nice to be able to have the time and space and freedom when a loved one is not doing well, right? And so there was a lot of pressure, but I just tried to maintain, doing the best I could. So I was kind of just keeping my head above water for a couple of years there. So that's one of the things that happened in the course of my lifetime that was pretty challenging for me.
Absolutely. Do you feel that how did that change your life and bring you to where you are now? How do you feel that has impacted you today?
That's a good question. I think one thing I learned for sure was that kind of situation, when a loved one becomes ill and then passes away, it's one of those things that it's horrible and, it's really hard to go through. But at the same time, if you were to look at the silver lining, I felt like it really brought my family together in a way that wouldn't have been possible without that happening. So it definitely made a lot of shifts within my family, my brother, sister, mom, everything like that. So that, it really helped me to understand, not just theoretically that there's a silver lining in any situation, but to really focus on that. And as you move through that grieving process, there is no time frame on grieving. It's really about, the grief is going to shift and change shape. It's never going to go away. So it's really about accepting what's happening and being really compassionate and empathetic to everyone's situation who's involved, right? And then when you see somebody going through that, you can really feel it in your bones, like you have that empathy for them. I feel like if you haven't lost a parent yet, it's just something, you can't imagine it, right? Like you can't quite put yourself in those shoes. And we eventually all will be in those shoes. So it's it's a club you don't want to be a part of. So really, looking at the silver lining and remembering all the really good things, because no matter what family you come from, there's going to be some levels of dysfunction or, not ideal situations. And once that person is gone, it really makes you stop and think about how great of a person they were at their soul being, right?
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Me, myself, I've lost both of my parents, so I totally connect with you on that as far as that feeling there. There's a hole there that you didn't know that would be there, and it's a very, as you said, you kind of have to learn how to develop your new normal, basically, because it's a whole different lifestyle. So yeah, I totally get that. Now, naturally, let's talk a little bit more about your lifestyle now, though. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a doctor, you have your own business, so you're busy, but as you was saying, you're not too busy. You schedule your time wisely. Tell me how you make time for yourself and some ways that you do that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did really have to learn the art of getting out of overwhelm. And I think for, a mom business owner type person, which a lot of your listeners might be in the same boat, or at least trying to have some parallels with that. I think it's really important that whatever you do, you come from a place of, this is going to sound a little odd, but it's not really about you. You know what I mean? And so it's nice to put yourself in the shoes of others. So when you're doing something, you're really in service to the people you're doing it for, whether that's your kids or your clients. And it helps to relieve pressure, right? As soon as we're discontent with our role or what we're doing, that's pretty much the definition of misery, right? And so having kids is a blip on the radar at the end of the day. My kids aren't going to be little for very long. So really trying to enjoy the good stuff in between the hard stuff, and knowing that each challenging moment is really temporary and brief, and learning patience, right? Learning patience. And the self-care piece for me, it just comes down to injecting it in parts of my day when I can. And then the odd time you might get a bigger break, right? You might go on a holiday, or you might get to go for that massage or pedicure or whatever it is that you require. But in the meantime, not really wishing I could have that, just every day and every moment looking for little things in the day that I can do for myself is more effective than a big holiday or something like that.
Exactly, because it's more about being consistent than it is about just the once sporadic event, whatever. So book or movie? Let's tell a little bit more fun stuff about you. Book or movie for you?
Definitely books. I'm not a big TV person. However, my husband loves movies, so it is one way that we connect. I love books. I'd have to stick with that if it was a personal decision.
Sure. And what are you currently reading now?
Lately I'm always reading business books, and I always read a lot of natural health books. So not a ton of fiction in my world these days. It's always about knowledge and learning. So let me think, what's a book that's on my shelf right now? I would say Millionaire Success Habits and Extreme Ownership is another good one. So things like that usually, or some sort of natural health book, like if it's on digestion or, hormones, that kind of stuff.
Sure. So do you have a favorite quote, favorite scripture? Tell me something that you like.
My favorite quote is, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
That's a good one. So beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Mm-hmm. And sweet or sour?
Sour.
And so tell me, let's go a little bit more back to the serious note for y'all. What would you define as your biggest regret up to this point?
I would say not hiring a coach sooner in my life. So whether that's a business coach or a health coach, or whatever it is that you want to move the needle in your life and make some gains, just don't hesitate. Just take the fast track. Stop doing trial and error. That would have been something I would have told my younger self for sure. Life coach, health coach, business coach, whatever it is, wherever you're at, whatever you need support with, just get somebody good and go with that.
Absolutely. That way, I think it's important for whoever you get that you really connect with them, because everyone you're going to be able to make a different connection with everyone, because everyone has different personalities, different thoughts. They have different things that they can bring to the table.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good coaches out there, there's not just one for every topic. It's good to shop around, and if you naturally gravitate towards somebody and when you listen to them, you're actually hearing what they're saying, that's a pretty good sign too. So, and I, in my practice, I do a lot of free health coaching stuff to see if it's a good fit. And I've been on calls before, and I said to the person on the other end, like, I'm going to help you as best as I can on the call, but I don't think this is going to be a good fit. You want to stay in integrity. You want to make sure you can help them, and that they feel really good about it too. So it's important to find somebody who's integrity with that.
Absolutely. What do you think has been your biggest accomplishment to this date?
I think, other than having kids, I think, being able to run two totally different businesses with very different needs and maintaining a happy family life is a huge accomplishment, because a lot of people think that they can't have both. You're going to work your butt off building this business, and then something's going to bleed in your personal life. So I think being able to do both has been an incredible accomplishment that I'm proud of myself, I have to say.
Sure, absolutely. And it's great to be able to wear many hats as long as you're not wearing too many hats. I think that's great.
Delegating is important. You got to know which hats to take off and give to somebody else. That's for
sure. Absolutely. And that was going to be my next question for you. As far as business owner, mom life, what have you, for home life, business, work, what would be your biggest tip to the listeners as far as making life easier in those areas of life?
Yeah, I think if you're looking to make life easier, if that's the question, I would say make sure you're doing as many things that you enjoy as possible. And so, kind of like you said, your work is part of your life, but it's not your entire life. However, my work is my life in a lot of ways because I love what I do. And so if I didn't love what I do, there's no way I would be able to maintain the level of, service that I'm providing with a smile on my face, a genuine smile, and not getting burnt out. So it's really important my husband actually always says this: if it's not fun anymore, stop doing it. And I love that because he's always reminding me if I start to get uptight about something, he's like, well, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to offer that anymore. You don't have to teach that anymore. We can do whatever we want. And knowing that there is freedom in this world and abundance in this world, and just finding the joy in most of the things that you do is key in loving every area of your life.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And one last laid back question, I guess you could say. Naturally, you was talking about how you live off of your land a lot. I guess a lot of that time you cook at home. Is it you or your husband cooking the meals? Is there a favorite recipe? What do you do?
Yeah, we both cook for sure. Because I'm the stay-at-home mom 4 to 5 days a week, and then he's home with the kiddos a couple days a week. He's definitely cooking. I'm probably the primary chef in the house, but I love to cook. So we do a lot of meal prep, a lot of batch cooking, and it's always usually sourced. I mean, there's the odd thing we'll buy from the grocery store for sure, but most of it's sourced from ourselves. So we kind of tag team it with that. If I'm not able to cook a meal, he picks up the slack. So we aren't eating out very often. We're at home 3 square meals a day most days. And we love a variety of foods. So we're really, like, we have a smoker, an industrial smoker. We do all kinds of cool recipes. We're really into that. And then if I were to share a recipe, I'm not sure if your audience would prefer like an actual meal or a kind of snack, a filler snack. I don't know if you have mostly moms listening, so you let me know and I'll share something.
Sure. And it's going to be a variety. It's naturally going to be, for the most part, women. And a lot of those are going to be moms. So if you want to, we can place a recipe in the show notes that you like, and then that way we can go from there with it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, if it's mostly women or moms, whether you're a mom or not, I tend to find that we as women are very busy and we're really great at taking care of everyone else but ourselves. So most of my clients are women. And what we tend to find out as we go through the intake process is that they don't eat enough food typically. And that can cause you to binge later on in the day because you didn't eat all day or you didn't eat enough in the day. Even if your choices are healthy, it's usually just overall not enough. So some of my snack ideas are sort of like fillers in the day, but they're quite healthy and they have all the macronutrients and they have lots of micronutrients and superfoods. So I can definitely give you the recipe for my power balls in the show notes. And I call them power balls because they literally give me energy. So I'll use them in between meals, or I'll use them before or after a workout just to give me a good boost and I feel satiated and it minimizes cravings and they taste great. So I can definitely give you the notes on that, and it's all healthy stuff.
Sure, absolutely. Forward that over to me. I'll include it in the show notes. And last but not least, if you want to go ahead and tell the listeners where they can find you at online after the show.
You bet. My website is going to be undergoing quite a lot of construction, but it's up right now. It's just not completely up to date, but you'll find everything you need there. It's newpathhealth.ca. So my company is newpathhealth.ca, and you'll find everything there. And I always, like I said, offer free coaching calls. So if anybody's like, liking what I'm saying at all and they want to learn more, I can definitely help you guys out there. So just check on my website for my contact, and we'll get you hooked up with lots of free resources on there too for everyone.
Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed chatting with you today. I certainly appreciate you being on the show. I think you are very inspiring. I love the fact that you live off the land. That's just awesome. I wish I could do that. I try to do it, as far as gardening and stuff, but I'm nowhere near there. Nowhere near. So
yeah, it depends on where you live. It's possible to do it regardless of where you live, but it's definitely, you got to adjust based on your living situation.
Sure, absolutely. Definitely inspirational. Again, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.